We'll start with the barrel and threads. This is a barrel with 14mm counterclockwise threads, but as you'll see, they're left exposed once you take off the orange tip. The orange tip was held on by some glue and a metal pin. Here we have a mid-cap or mid-capacity magazine. Once I take this, you'll see it even has dummy bullets that are realistically sized, and there are 50 of them, keeping the looks realistic. The BBs are fed through the bottom of the mag, which holds 70 rounds. That's 20 more than the real-life PS90, which is a civilian semi-auto version of the P90. Flipping the magazine around, you can see the port which the BBs will flow into. Using a speed loader, you can fill this up to 70 in a matter of seconds. Here we have the bolt, which is non-functional. It also gets stuck very often and takes a lot of force to push back once it is. The spring inside pushes it forward so much that it digs itself a little hole inside the gun to slide into. Now, I have actually tried screwing in those screws on the bolt, but they really just hold on to bolt handles. There's almost no point to them, other than cosmetic. Underneath the P90, just above your firing hand, there's a latch. Opening it will reveal the hopper. You can increase and decrease the elevation of your BBs by spinning it right or left. On the top side of this P90, you'll see that the sight is actually integrated into the Picatinny rail. You have two more on the side just for some dual grenade launchers as well. Now for the trigger system. Moving the safety selector to the right one will allow for semi-auto. That will only let you pull the trigger back halfway. When you put it on full auto, the trigger will be able to move back all the way. That is pretty realistic. The real-life P90 also works that way. It also allows you to do quick little bursts without emptying your whole magazine when you're in combat. To release the magazine, just push back on these two pins and pull it up, and you can slide it out easily. To disassemble this P90, you want to take out the mag, and then underneath the mag there'll be a little pin. Pushing it in and pulling it out, which is very hard sometimes, will reveal the hop up and all the little pieces that you'll need to change the barrel from the inside. This whole top piece is metal and is very durable. You could probably throw everything up against a wall and it'd survive. But trying to jam this piece in when you're putting it back together can damage it. The trigger system is very sturdy, and it's held on by these two metal little poles. Putting this bottom part aside for a minute, we'll take a better look at this upper half. As I said before, it is metal, and you could probably use it as a weapon itself in combat, as long as you don't damage the delicate pop-up on the back. Because this gun can field strip so easy, you'll find a lot of aftermarket parts, and it won't be very hard to assemble them either. And you can get rid of that serial number. Thankfully, it's on the left side, so nobody will see it as well. Now I'll show you what I was talking about before with the bolt. You can see that silver under there. The bolt actually shaves silver off and creates its own little hole to go into, because the wall that keeps it from going too far forward is actually very small. The spring is so powerful that it just shoves the bolt over like that. And putting it back on when it's like that can get it stuck even more. Taking a look at the bottom half of the gun again. In the back, there's actually a shell ejecting area. It doesn't work, obviously, because there are no shells, but that is the real place, and it is the right size. Now I'll show you how to access the battery. Push down this button and pull down the butt. You have a lot of storage space, and this little pad will protect the wires from any sort of cutting, like how you get on the ARs in Airsoft. Also, at the back side of the gun, you'll have your sling attachment point, which only works on P90 slings. Now I will pull down the butt to get into the battery location again. You'll see that you have a lot of battery room, and it has the normal pin connections. Once I take this battery out and throw it aside, I'll show you how to disassemble the gun. In the back, past the connector, you have these two screws, and they are only held in by plastic. You can very easily strip them. This whole back area is also just battery space. You can fit almost any battery you can think of in there. We're just about to get into the disassembly, but I'm going to show you this battery and its specs first. Now, if you do decide to use a drill like I did, be careful when screwing it back in, because the main part that holds the battery in is actually plastic. You know, the area that the screws drill into. So, drilling it in too fast could easily strip it. Another thing I would like to say is the gearbox is only held in by those two screws, really. So be careful not to hold it upside down or accidentally drop the gearbox out of the gun when you're doing this. This is a version 6 gearbox, probably the most annoying gearbox ever, with no quick change spring. Also, about springs, there's a spring on the other side, which I'll show you in a minute, this one, which you don't need to worry about actually. It won't fly out or anything when you take apart a gun. I remember I took apart a Mauser one time, and I did everything the video said. I took it apart, the top half slides off, pretty similar to this, and these springs exploded everywhere across the whole house, and it's been destroyed since. Now I'm trying to show off the trigger here. There's two connector pins in the back, and there's one inside the see-through plastic up there in the front. I'm showing that when you push it back all the way, it would activate auto, and pushing it halfway will activate semi. Don't unscrew these two screws. And don't even worry about any of the screws on this side either. All the screws you'll need to unscrew are on the right side of the P90. My camera actually died in the middle of unscrewing this, and so I made the best of it and made a cool little scene, I suppose. I only unscrewed that top left screw, that bottom screw, and the screw over at the side that you saw the first time. Now I'm trying to show that underneath this plastic there's a screw again that you'll need to unscrew. First unscrewing this one, and then after you do that you can lift up this whole see-through plastic area, and there'll be your last screw underneath. An easy way to remember which of those long screws goes in there is one of them is flat and one of them isn't. The flat one will go into the clear plastic. And there's the other screw I was talking about. most likely during this part, your spring will fly like a rocket and explode a hole through your wall. So be careful when you're undoing this part. Another thing I noticed is this anti-reversal latch pops out a lot, and once it does, it's kind of difficult to remember which way it went in, and I had this problem. I couldn't find any video really that showed me which way apart from one, and that was even after an hour of looking. So I figured I'd take a second and show you how that goes now. Just like that. Unfortunately, this is all the time I can spare between my lunch break, but I'll link my favorite deep P90 disassembly video, and I'll also put a few links to this P90 for good prices. Hope you enjoyed the video. Here we have a midcap or